Are we recording yet or not? Oh, we kind of, yeah, we can't have that one on, right? Well, it's okay. I'm editing. Well, that's what I was talking about, like getting somebody who you trust. We went to Clip and Climb yesterday on Saturday, right? Little girl birthday and that today. So
Is that birthday today?
That's a birthday today.
Oh, school day though.
10. I was like, oh, you're not single digits anymore, double figures now. You never go back, you know. And went to Clip and Climb. And she just got the giggles starting. She just couldn't do it. She was like on the floor. Honestly, she just started laughing. Just giggle after giggle. She is joy of life. She's just got that in her. But I can just be like, and she'll be like,
why is this one? What the heck?
We just communicate by just looking. Do you know what I mean? And it's that I've got
It's
that.
Like Xanthi's like me. Like
Right.
she has a very similar
The humour, man.
sense of humour.
But just turned 10, 9.
Especially
Gets it.
my kids these days. Like not with you, I love you, like uncle.
Well, that's the thing, because I'm not in the house all the time, and that's the stranger. Now, sitting talking to your kid yesterday, I was talking like 45 minutes, talking about training and
Oh, he loves it, man.
muscle and all that kind of stuff. But it's good. He's like, "Who do you know Sam Sue look like?" I'm like, "Oh, man." And the same as your Zanti, I was like, "Well, bad friends." Or Andrew Santino, Bobby Lee.
Yeah.
Well, I know these people because they're all on the podcasts. They're all in Rogan's mates. They're all that. They're all the comedian kind of clique.
Yeah.
So I'm amazed she's not listening to everything else. But that podcast right there, the Bad Friends one, they were doing their individuals.
Is it appropriate?
Not at all. Because you can get away with it. Because
you're not recording, are you?
yeah. No, he is, but he's
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
They're all rolling.
All rolling.
I
So
think I'll
right,
just cut
yeah.
that out.
Hang on. One, Tim?
Oh, just
Aye,
cut straight
okay, we'll cut straight in.
Why did we fumble yesterday?
A big fumble yesterday because it was somebody asking us to do something to present. 3, 2, 1. Okay, who are you? What do you do? What's Local Heroes about? And was a proper we car crashed it, didn't we?
Well, yeah. If you
At
watch
the
it back,
beginning-
right, it's not a total car crash, right?
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where, like, if it was just an ordinary business,
Yeah.
and you've got an elevator pitch, and
Yes. Yeah.
and you just roll call the thing off.
What's your IP?
It's about, this
What's
is the
your,
mission.
Yeah.
This is my
What's
vision.
your mission?
But because it's coming from so deep,
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean, in terms of what we've wanted to do for quite a long time, probably even pre us meeting, it's kind of been.
It bubbles away in the essence of who you are.
Well, that's what I mean, yeah. So even our different career paths, they kind of came together for a reason.
Yeah.
Not from a fate perspective, because I don't believe in that crap, right?
No.
But it did. It happened for a reason. And we're both trying to sort of bring that purpose into one space. And that's quite hard to articulate when people put you on the spot, because it's like, it's such a big idea, but it's so simple at the same time. And trying to put that into a sentence that's like clippable and soundbiteable was really, really tough.
Yeah, people want 3 words to describe what we do, and it's really hard to say that. But that's the thing. We could rant for about half an hour and you'll understand and you'll get it. But when we're in a room and you start talking about what's the whole point in Local Heroes,
Yeah.
what is the purpose of Local Heroes?
Yeah.
We've been talking about this podcast for 4 years, since COVID.
Totally.
And it all started via the food markets when everything got locked down. And
But it was even
But it was-
further back than that, you know? Do you know what I mean? Because the context of the food markets was Food and Drink Northeast had just launched, right?
when did that launch?
That launched in it would have been 5 years ago last week.
So it was 2019.
6th of Feb, was it? So it was 6 weeks before lockdown. It was the same
Was
week.
it really?
The first COVID.
I thought that would have been going for ages, you know.
No.
Honestly, I thought it was like
No.
a year or 2
No.
before
Well,
we met.
The sort of all of the footwork and that, and all of the miles were put in before that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Looking to see whether it was a valid thing to do and whether it was going to work. We called it like a post-mortem. Like, what's the point in doing it if nobody wants it?
Yeah.
But when we met, it was we launched in February. 6 weeks later, lockdown happened, right?
Right. Okay.
And we kind of just sat down.
I
and
didn't know that, you know. I didn't know the timings on that.
So
though.
incidentally,
That's nice to hear.
incidentally, right? And she won't maybe mention it. Anna Hedworth from the Cookhouse, right? She originally founded that market in Jesmond, right? And I only incidentally took it over. It was like a temporary fix. Now, I think it was partially because I've got a background in running events, right? Through my other work. I've got a background in working in food and drink since I was like a teenager. And it was would you do this for a period of time?
Mm-hmm.
So we took over Jesmond Food Market. Fadney happened, lockdown happened, and because we treated Fadney like it was a public service. So it was like, what are we going to do for these businesses? They've got stuff that they need to sell,
Right.
and it's got to find a route somewhere. Otherwise, it's going to be wasted, and they're going to go out of business.
Yeah.
And we quite literally sit and workshopped, like, right, what are we going to do? Well, let's try and aggregate all the stuff. We'll bring it all together. And it took 4 weeks. We literally found a warehouse on Westgate Road, which was a community centre, which was just sitting dormant because of lockdown.
Oh, the Beacon.
Yeah, the Beacon.
Oh.
We went in there. We took the old cafe space.
Mm-hmm.
We got bootstrapped, and we got funded by Greg's. Not many people know that, but they dropped, I think, about 4 or 5K in
Really?
the pot. We went out, bought all the racking and all that to professionalise it, make sure we set it up properly, fridges, all of that, because it was like a local Amazon, basically. You know, I think we took in.
But had a kitchen in there as well, didn't
Had
it?
a kitchen in there. Yeah. We took in about 150, 160 different products from all over the place. So there wasn't like there was ambient, there was frozen, there was chilled. It was stupidly ambitious because we didn't have the infrastructure. We started from scratch, and we built the website from scratch as well. It wasn't off the shelf. And we just sat, I'll not forget this actually, we sat in the Beacon on a Friday, and there was all this kind of will they, won't they, in terms of will the markets go on tomorrow because of lockdown and what was going on. And I just got a call, I'm sure it was about 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. And it was Newcastle City Council. Said, look, you can't put that market on tomorrow, you can't do it. It'll kind of be in breach of what everybody else is agreeing to do. So we don't have. Then there was no COVID guidelines. Nobody knew what they could do or what they should do. So it was just you can't go ahead. So I had to put the call out in a WhatsApp group. 40 businesses, butchers, cheesemakers, people that have prepped stuff and made stuff. We went with Dave Kennedy, the chef. He was based at the Beacon, working with us. He'd baked loads of stuff, pies, bread, sourdough, all kinds of stuff. And it was like a flash mob moment. We quite literally, on the Friday night, went, we need to set a market up. So we'd done that. On the Saturday morning, we quite literally did a pop-up market on Westgate Road. And there was queues of people going down the street.
Really?
And we were allowed, because just the COVID guidelines, it was retail.
Right, okay.
So we had one in. We had kind of, we had a sort of a flow around the shop.
Single
I went
shopper.
away, Mark. Single shoppers,
Yeah.
social distancing, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Then in tandem at the same time, we were building the website for Local Heroes as a market.
Right, okay.
And I'm trying to remember. If you remember, I know we've said this a couple of times on the podcast. I sort of stalked you, right? Because I saw a couple of your films. And when you did The Dairyman, I think I said to you in a really sort of spooky way, it was like someone had climbed inside my head and put a projector through my eyes. Because it looked and felt like everything how I wanted us to communicate what was going on in the industry.
Did you call me or did you email me? Because I wasn't sure what.
It was on LinkedIn.
Was it on LinkedIn, was it? Okay.
And I was thinking, oh, thanks.
Oh, it's
Tim.
got a bit of fluff.
What was that?
Really?
Just a tiny line of like thread.
Do you know, for a second there, do you know what I thought you were going to do?
Kiss.
I was watching that. I was
Rugby
watching
cheek. Good lad, good lad.
Keep this
Keep
in.
it
I was
going.
watching
Good lad.
that Lockerbie documentary
Okay.
where Jim, what do you call him? Jim Swire, whatever you call him. He goes and puts a badge on Colonel Gaddafi's chest. I thought you were going to put a badge on us or something there.
Oh, imagine that. If you just came on and put a star on you. I might have just put a gold star on you.
I thought Tim was telling us I was doing a good job telling the story. There you are.
Gold
Like
star.
the dentist.
Aye, yeah.
Gold
yes,
star, Chris.
aye. When you get a
Honestly,
sticky plaster,
great.
a lolly. Remember the flat lollies? Remember the flat lollies from the dentist?
Don't you just love the oxymoron of going to the dentist and getting a lolly afterwards?
I know, it's mad, isn't it? Do you remember? Yeah.
What now or then?
No, I wasn't then. This was just a lolly,
I grew
Tim.
up, man.
This is just a well done for not kicking off in the church. I mean, that's what that was. I remember, I remember the lollies in the pharmacy, and I remember going and getting a lolly in the pharmacy.
Totally.
The good square ones, or the lolly whistles. It was
Lolly
that
whistles,
kind of
but
lolly
next
whistle.
remember the little pot of licorice sticks. The branch.
You can do one with licorice, like.
No, it wasn't licorice, but not remember they were like twigs.
Oh, the proper licorice. Yeah, I look like a stick.
That's what
Aye,
Irish is.
look like a
Yeah,
stick. Yeah, it
so
is.
you got
It's
one of these to sell in
actual.
the dentist.
Yeah, actual licorice.
Like 20 pence
Yeah.
a stick or something.
Oh man, you know.
Anyway, sorry.
Sorry, what we're talking about? COVID.
So, LinkedIn, I got in touch with you.
Oh, was
and
it
I was
LinkedIn?
like, yeah, LinkedIn.
Because I just remember having a phone call on my doorstep.
And after, no, and I have to
Outside.
remember, if I remember rightly, I was a bit like, he's going to be creative. He's going to be dead spiky and that. I think you were a bit spiky at first. Because I think you just thought, who's this bloke?
Is that not just be
popping out
normal
of nowhere.
personality? Well, it's because the guard's up straight away. It's like,
Straight.
well,
Who's
right?
he?
Because normally people go, when somebody calls you, right, they want something from you because they can't do this thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's usually comes for a, by the way, can you do this for now as well? And like, give us everything. And then we don't ever work with you again because that happens all the time in my industry. So,
But I think we both realised it's probably how this has happened, which we'll come on to.
yes.
I think you realised I was good at connecting dots because I had a big network. It took us 30 years to build that network of people in the industry, people on the outskirts of the industry, and everything in between. And like when you first done the Dairyman, we were like, well, there's loads more potential, loads more stories that we could pull out. And in this particular moment in time, we can't let these businesses die or like fall out of public gaze because they would.
Yeah.
There was nobody talking about them. Restaurant businesses, people in the supply chain, farmers, producers, whoever they were. If there wasn't a lens put on those people during that period of time, they would have just been lost and forgotten about.
Yeah. I mean, completely. I was teaching kids across the kitchen table during the week. My missus was working upstairs in our dressing room, which is now the office that she works from 3 days a week, right? We've converted that thing. And I was just driving myself nuts during the week, and the whole world shut down. No support, no money, nothing. Zip.
Yeah.
Unknown. So what's your creative outlet? I need to keep seeing. I need to do something for me. So on a weekend, I was started like make films, and I went for a walk, and I saw a guy delivering veg in Horton. Is Paul the dairyman? That's on the side of his van. Paul the dairyman, and he was loading veg in. I'm like, what's that all about? So I got in touch with him and I asked him. I was like, so what you doing then, Paul? He's like, well, my business is shut down because all the coffee shops are gone, so I can't do any milk deliveries. He says, what you doing? I'm delivering fruit and veg to old people. I'm like, that's a good story. I thought, well, could I come out and film you sometime? He says, I said, well, because I'm media, so I'm allowed to kind of go out and do this. We'll keep a distance, a warm mask, and I'll just do you at night loading all the gear in and stuff like that, delivering a little bit of milk, but he's like doorstepping the milk now instead of doing a business. And then got him going picking the veg up down in Horton, right? Because the fruit and veg shop, the only one that was open at the time. So I went and just kind of document. I thought, well, let's do a 60-second film and let's do a portrait, and then that's the campaign images for the film. So I'm making my own sort of creative campaign in a way, and called it Coping in a Crisis. And I know I was back and forth with Tim about this as well, because Tim recommended it was, I keep forgetting the name of the food bank. Tim, please remind us.
The Bay, wasn't it?
Bay Food Bank.
Bay Food Bank, yeah, sorry. And it was literally, I think after the first one, you got in touch because you saw that film, and I just put it out there just to do something for me as a creative outlet. And I'm really intrigued about how people are going to cope, because this was quite an unusual thing. And there's always pressure in it's like the doorstep portraits, everybody was doing them. I didn't want to do that. I'm not doing that. I'm doing what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
Have something with a purpose, and that's what it's all about. And have something that matters and tell somebody's story. And that I actually learned how to edit throughout that whole thing as well. I learned how to edit, learned how to put stuff together and film, because I wasn't really doing much of that. I did a few things, but I wasn't really hands-on with doing that stuff.
That's why it stuck out, because I've seen loads and loads of commercial work or approaches to telling stories, like the stories that we've told.
Yeah.
I guess the type of stories we're telling aren't new.
No.
But the way in which you were telling them when we met, whatever it was, resonated with me. It touched a nerve, because it was, I keep on saying, between the lines. It was kind of, it was looking for the not so obvious elements of the story that I think other people would struggle to pull out and elevate. And it's so easy. We talk about this all the time. It's so easy to go for the easy stuff.
Yeah, but it is. But it's not briefed. It's me.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. I've got full creative control about how I put this thing out, how I put it together, and what I do with it. And it's a simple thing. I interviewed everybody, right? learning how to do sound and all that kind of thing, which Tim helped us with, and this was a whole massive learning curve, but it's new, like getting your teeth stuck into something new
how many-
instead of just doing photography.
So we weren't. I wasn't involved in any of that. That
No.
happened.
No,
And then I'm trying to think. After that, because we did. How many Copenhagen Crisis was there again?
14 altogether.
What was the second one? When we first started talking, was it Ken Holland?
Ken Holland.
So we did.
And then it was the beer food bank. But you got me in touch with Ken Holland, and me and Tim went up to see Ken, because he was growing. Was he growing? His micro, was
micro herbs.
his,
and micro,
his micro herbs. So we went up and
supplying
saw
like the whole
Ken,
country.
Aye, so Ken Holland with his micro herbs, and we were just trying to figure it out. And we even put a disclaimer on the back about COVID, because this was like scary time COVID, when nobody knew what the hell was going on. So it was all distance, and we actually had to put that on just to make sure that you're not going out willy-nilly, breaking all the rules, breaking the law, which, but just trying to make it work. But it was just that thing, seeing how people were coping in a crisis. It's that, and everybody had their own story. And by the time we got through it, it was every single business, same as what we do with Local Heroes. Everyone is on the same level. I don't care, big or small.
Yeah.
Everybody, you treat everybody the same on the same level.
Yeah.
And that's how you should operate with every single thing you do. And everyone had their own unique story as well. And even Teesdale Cheese, they put up a stall outside on the driveway on the farm where they were, and people could come up and buy the stuff, like honesty box level stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Remember, Alex from Yem was
Alex
cooking
from-
stuff for the
yeah.
local community.
He was.
And dine-in kits and
dine-in kits, boxes. It was everybody
a
was
massively innovative time.
It was but it was great because it was adaptive, and that's what that was all about. And then we were delivering boxes to people's homes with the Local Heroes and all of these people who we went out to film. Their products were going inside these boxes, and lots of different people on top of that as well, going inside these boxes, and we were doorstep delivering boxes. I was dropping stuff off.
But
as
going
well.
back to storytelling though, but even those boxes, if you remember, that's what I think set us apart. Each box always had a kind of storytelling postcard in it.
Yeah.
A profile shot of a producer, their story,
Exactly.
what they're doing.
Yeah.
It was really, really integral to what we did.
Completely, and that's the crossover as well. It's a deliverable food market to your door, isn't it? Really,
Yeah.
That's kind of what it was. But the story of the person who's actually creating the food for the people, and then the story about who they are, what they're about, and it's all local. It's all local people doing local businesses, risking everything, and they were in like quite tricky predicaments. Some of them as well. I don't even if some of them aren't even around now.
Oh, no, they're not. But you know when we sorry, we're going to dance all over the shop
That's-
here
'cause
because I think it's really important.
Yeah.
So when you look at coping the crisis, put that aside. I guess when we did the Coming Home series, that was probably our first foray together.
Yeah.
And with Fadney, when we were doing that work to try to pull that storytelling forward.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first time we really went out for like sponsorship to do some stuff that had other stakeholders involved. But even then, if you look at I'll only focus on one of them because it was the first one.
The seat to play.
The seat to play it one.
Yeah.
It was just, if anything, I think could describe us any better than that is that whole process. You took like peeling an onion, and it's like a layer at every level. The whole thing had an integrity about it because we always said, look, it can't be. Didn't we joke at the time about when you watch Spender with Jimmy Nail? You'd be running down like Northumberland Street, but the next thing you know, you'd be in like Felgate or something.
Yeah,
because
different
there was just no
locations,
continuity.
There's
It
no
was just-
continuity where he is all
And
the
we
time.
said, look at this. These are like, because we called it Coming Home. The idea was we're opening up hospitality again. We're trying to welcome people back to the region, but it's got to have integrity, of supply chain. So we went right back, seat to plate, and everything in between. And even the music, we'll come on to the music bit in a second, but
But I mapped out every single route for every single journey
Totally.
of what the films were about. So I knew that rang true. If you went that way left and up the steps and then you turned round and then you were at the pub, you had to get to the pub. You had to do that is a true
But
thing,
look
which
at-
is the Durham
Look
one.
what picture, right? Salmon Sting.
Salmon Sting.
We made an active decision in those films because we were like, every element it's got to resonate on a certain level.
Yeah.
And reflect the Northeast.
It has to.
So in terms of iconography and things that people remember and the things that represent that aren't so obvious to the region.
Yeah.
So even the langoustine bit, we were like, it's got to be langoustines because North Shields is famous for them.
Yeah.
but not many people know it's that famous for langoustine.
Yeah.
So we need to elevate that story.
Yeah.
Getting you on that boat. It was hilarious. I mean, those photographs of you on that boat, being sick over the side and that, staying, sleeping in the galley.
It was
Were hilarious.
But the thing is, right, it was like, right, let's get on the boat because we need the boat shots, right? So that's the whole point. We need the sea to the plate. So we needed this sea element. And it's one of them, fishermen don't mess about, they're not hanging around for you. So I drove up to Eyemouth, right? A guy was, the boat I was supposed to be on.
It was Colin, wasn't it? The guy who we connected to.
Yeah, it was Colin. The boat I was supposed to be on, but there was no connection. I didn't have anyone's number, so I'm trying to go back to you with a WhatsApp going, well, where is he? Who is he? Because I don't know. I'm just turning up on a quay, and there's loads of fishing boats, and I don't even know which quay because I've never been to Eyemouth. So I pull up, right, and there was a boat leaving. So I was like, I'm going to have to just approach and go, right, lads, I'm looking for Colin and he stuck his head out the window, and he's like, just jump on that boat behind us, this smaller boat. So he rang the boat behind, and he was off. He was away, but he wasn't messing about. He wasn't hanging around for me, right? And he just lumped me on this boat with two lads, Davey and Damo. Valhalla, on the boat Valhalla. So I was like, all right, lads. I'm jumping on with you. Yeah, just jump on, Dan. That was it. I'm forgetting the guy who's a skipper, because there's a skipper there driving, and Damo and Davey were doing all the work. Do you know what I mean? Doing all the fishing on the network. So I just jumped on, put me bag down in the galley. There was 2 beds, or was it 1 bed? No, there was 1 bed. There was the floor, and there was just like trainers, clothes, there was all sorts, and a microwave. There was no toilet. That was it, and the cabin. So that's what you have on this boat. And I was like, I didn't know what was going to happen and how long this was going to be. So I just set my camera up. I didn't do any photography. I just did film, because I'm like, I need to just capture what I'm here to do. So dropped the bag off and just started getting all the lads. Do you know what I mean? Bit by bit. But
it was pretty high stakes, though, when you think about, like, you didn't know how long you were going to be there for.
No.
But we'd still committed to, if you remember.
Full waterproofs
like, right,
on the board.
that was a Thursday
ready,
night.
you know.
Right?
Yeah.
And it helped that the restaurants were closed at the time, because we were like, well, the very, very end scene of that film.
Hang on just till
For the beeps. No, we'll keep going. Go for the beeps.
Yeah.
This is another part of
We
this
should
story.
try and swear at the same time to see
Yeah.
if we can in sync be bleeped out by the bleeps.
Yeah. The thing is, because the fact is, because we're in Sheepfolds and this is Monday,
Yeah.
and the Monday morning we get full deliveries.
Just wait for the trolleys to hit the cobblestones.
The trolleys are going to hit the cobblestones. We've even put a curtain on, but it's going to take out about 10% of the noise, but we're just going to keep
Nice
going
curtain
through.
as well, looks nice.
It's all right. No?
Keeps the breeze out.
It does something, doesn't it?
So-
But
So you went on the boat on a Thursday.
Yeah.
Because I remember this vividly. It was hilarious.
not at the time for me.
I
on
know
the
it
boat.
wasn't, but
It
you
was
were on the boat.
It was funny until you start feeling sick 6 hours in.
But do you remember how tight it was, like how tight we timed it all? Because
Yeah.
you didn't know when you were going to get back.
No.
But we still booked trackle, if you remember. We booked models.
I forgot about that.
We booked
Yeah.
trackle.
Yeah,
Because we needed the venue.
we did.
We needed the langoustines to be cooked on the grill.
Yeah.
We needed the plate to be served. Farmer
Yeah.
plate. Cedar plate.
Cedar
that was the
plate,
whole point.
yeah.
Right? And I'll never forget, it was about 3 o'clock, 3:30 on a Friday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was meeting you at 5 o'clock at Trackle.
Mm-hmm.
And we were in the midst of doing local heroes deliveries and orders and putting because the deliveries went out on a Friday. And we always debriefed on a Friday afternoon. We either went to Pina or the Turkish restaurant to eat, or we'd sit and chat like this for about 3 hours.
Yeah.
You remember?
Yeah.
But it was this phone call. Tim, I don't know if you know this story, right? The langoustine story. The whole,
Yeah,
the focal point of the whole film, right?
Yeah, I need to go back on this story as well on my.
So Dan's on the
Boat,
boat
yeah.
all night, catching, watching, bring the nets in, bring the langoustines in, and you ring us at like 3:30 on the Friday afternoon.
Was that at Trackle or not?
You were on your way to Trackle, and I was still at the Beacon.
Because we go back on the boat half.
And
eight
I
in the
said,
morning,
I'll be
so
there
yeah.
for 5 o'clock. I'll have to get a taxi down. And then Dan goes, will you bring the langoustines with you as well?
Aye.
I went, what langoustines?
What langoustines? Yeah.
He goes,
I've just seen
the
half of-
langoustines
yeah.
to cook. in Trackle.
I'm just saying half a ton get
And
pulled
I
onto a
went, oh,
boat.
but I thought, you've been on the trawler and that, on the boat for the whole night.
Yeah.
You might have brought back. And you went, no, I
No.
thought you were going to bring
Exactly,
the langoustines.
yeah.
And I remember driving. It was bizarre.
Detail though, isn't it?
Like, but you talk about being like a runner,
Yeah.
right?
Aye.
I just went, I'll find some. But I'm in the middle of West End, Newcastle. So I was sitting on Google, fishmongers, West End. I don't have any, because it's a Friday, right?
Friday afternoon as well.
Fishmongers normally open on Friday afternoon,
Yeah.
right? And I typed in, right, Elsick, fishmonger. It was in like a terrace street. Never forget it. It was like going back in time. And I just Googled it and I rang the guy and I went, have you got any langoustines? He went, oh. It was like, sorry, buddy lad.
Oh, aye, one of them.
I've just sold the last ones about an hour ago. No. And a bit like here, actually, when we took this podcast studio. Oh, hold on a minute.
Aye.
Actually, yesterday I was out on my own boat.
Yeah.
And I've got some langoustines, but they're cooked. Will they do? I went, yes,
Even better.
they will.
Yeah. Yes, saves cooking them,
So,
doesn't it? Yeah.
jumping a taxi in Elsick, going to this shop. It's this tiny little shop. It was like open all hours.
Aye.
But a fishmonger's in the middle of a residential area. It was amazing. And this guy just turns up and he was like, I remember, I think I paid him like an extra tenner. Thanks, I just can't thank you enough for this. I brought these langoustines and raced down. You were like, where on earth did you get them from? And I went, it's a long story.
Aye. It almost came in like a blue carrier bag in your hand. Do you know
It
what I mean?
was.
It's like one of them like local corner shop carrier bags. But going back to the boat, because I can't not talk about the boat, can I? So 4 hours in, start feeling sick, just a little bit. Do you know what I mean? And I had bought those patches, those seasickness patches. I knew I
didn't
was,
know that.
I always had seasickness, travel sickness as a kid, but I hadn't been on a fishing boat before. I thought, let's just best get prepped. You might as well just throw them in the water. Do you know what I mean? Absolute waste of time. So I started feeling sick 4 hours in, and then I started throwing up at 6 hours in, right? So we left, I don't know, mid-afternoon or something like that. So I'm just emptying I'm emptying the galley. Which is kind of me. So I'm emptying that. Where's the toilet, lads? It's over the side. No toilet, no. So all your latrine duties were over the side. So you got to
What,
be
like
a
you
good
just
aim.
had to do it over the side? There was no like function? You didn't like...
Lean to the edge of the barrier and do everything over the side. So now and again I was just like emptying. I couldn't drink any, even water. I couldn't keep down. So we'll get to like night time and I'm like, I'm gonna have to lie down.
There's nothing worse than seasickness.
I was filming bits, right? You can't just keep filming all the time because it's pointless. You're just gonna get the same stuff. And all they were doing is drive and put the nets down. There's nothing to say. There's nothing to say, right? They put the nets down and then they just chill out and they just put the head down for like an hour. So, well, I'll do the same because everything was moving constantly and I just felt sick. The only time I was feeling half okay was when I was lying on the floor because everything wasn't moving so much. Do you know what I mean? It's like your internal sort of, what's that, the balance inside your head.
There's no regrouping though. Once it goes, it goes and that's it.
It's gone. So I'm like, right, you got to get through this. Tough. Okay. Camera bag, I'm in full waterproof in a hoodie. I'm using my camera bag as my pillow, lying on the floor, just curled up. And there's a cape next to us on the left-hand side.
Photograph of you then?
One of the lads, because I said, you got to get a picture of this because I need it because we've got no like behind the scenes because that's a part of the story, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and Davey was like, I was like, right, Davey, all I need is when you're doing stuff, I need that sunset. I have to get that sunset. I need to fly the drone off the boat and capture this sunset, right? So he's like, no bother, Dan, no problem. And through the night, I'm getting to know these lads, and obviously they must have known I'm throwing up over the side. Not one of them said anything about it. Not one of them, right?
Part of the course.
Part of the course, right? Yeah. I'm on board. They're looking after us. But just, you just get to that point where they're just respecting you because you're on the boat and you're doing your thing.
That like if you cut your hand off, they just give you like a plaster or something like that.
No, they just give you like a langoustine claw or something like that to put on instead. There you go. There's a crab leg. Just stick that on. Screw it in. So it's the smell of diesel, fish, and being sick. That now, if I smell that down on the fish cake, that kind of brings back some nice, lovely memories. You're straight there. No, it's straight there. I was like last week on the fish cake, it's the same thing. I was like, oh my God. But so skip to the bringing in middle of the night. They're bringing in all the nets. So I'm just getting up every hour or something like that to see if there's any crack. And then 4 o'clock, done. The sun's coming up. I'm like, all right, cheers, Davey. So here's me. I go up. all the lads are up, ready, because this is pulling nets in time, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, sun is on just before the horizon line. It is a crisp, clear, in the
That
middle of
shot's
the
amazing.
North Sea, just the best conditions you can get.
Front page of our website.
Get front page of the website, it's up there, the screen grab. So that flew the drone, right, off the fishing boat, and then just captured that. And I'm like, I'm down, like leaning up against, like, you know, underneath the window, trying to like hide myself on the boat so I don't catch myself on the boat. So as I'm flying the drone, so I'm flying it, but I've never flown something from a place that's been moving before. So all your home is in the middle of the sea now. So any location that locks into is the middle of the sea. So if your battery runs out, it'll just come down to where it took off from, but you're not in the same place, right? So I maximised this time. It was beautiful. It was perfect. You just get that. It never gets boring seeing that shot. It never gets boring. I've seen so many sunrises. It's the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
It never gets dull. So I flew this drone back, and it was getting a like 19% battery. And then it was getting close, and was like, right, come home. It was telling us, like, get back. Right? It was telling us to get back. And the perfect shot coming round, I did a kind of semicircle all the way around the boat, and a seagull flew in as I was coming around. I'm like, bang, I've got the shot right. Get this thing back. Get this thing back on the boat. So here's me flying it back, and the wind coming back, and the boat's moving, and I'm getting so close, and I've got a shot of me looking at the drone, and it's almost there, but I'm like, I've either got to catch this thing, and there's nowhere to land it. I took off, but Davey held it in his hand, and we just took off. But these lads were working now, so I'm like, well, I can't ask them to stop. And they were like, they had the nets in, and they were doing all the, you know, like sorting and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, what am I going to do? I'm like, I'm just going to have to crash land this 10%. Things going off. I'm like, right, bringing it down. So I just dropped it, and it just went clunk, 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 all the way down through the chute where all the fish come in. He's like,
what? The drone went through the chute?
The drone went through the
Why
chute
did I
where
not
all the
know
fish
that?
came in. No, it came in, and he's like, what the that? I'm like, sorry lads, I says, I've just had to crash the drone. I says, is it there? Here it is, I've got it, man. And he came, and he just had, Davey handed it to us. He says, there you go. I'm like, I says, thank God for that. He said, did you get the shot? So I checked. Obviously, it doesn't matter. As long as I've got the drone, I've got the card, which the footage is on, right?
Yeah.
And I played it back. Amazing footage. The perfect shot. I was showing the lads were absolutely buzzing. And one of the things that gets me to this day is just a catch, bringing something in that you've grafted for, right? And you didn't know you were going to get. And these lads, the net was full, and they were happy, really happy about just bringing this catch, this massive catch in. And Lewis Capaldi was on the radio, and they were just singing top of their voices.
But you know what it is, though? That, like, we could bore people talking about this one video, but I think it's really important because it's like a branching narrative. Remember those books, branching narrative books when you were a kid?
Aye.
You get the end of the chapter. If you want this to happen, go to page 30.
Yeah.
Like, every single element of that film, I think, illustrates what Local Heroes is about.
Yeah.
Because if you think about how that then splintered off into Valhalla, and then all the other work that we ended up doing with Fish Key, and the relationship we built there, the stuff we did with Katrina Porteous, and Plenty Langer Winter, and the John Grundy thing, it was just a theme within a theme within a theme within a theme. And then you go back to what happened, because I think it's really worthy to talk about the process with Elizabeth and Rod. It was just, I think it was like classic Us, because it was, we need a soundtrack to this video.
Yeah.
We can't be lazy and just get a soundtrack and buy something. We need to showcase a local person, local talent. So we're talking about the present and the future. Yeah. But actually, wouldn't it be great if we got that local talent to bring back to life something that already existed? So we end up, you picked out that Lindisfarne track.
I just kept, it's like everything we do. I kept going back to Meet Me on the Corner by Lindisfarne, and it was already like a place where we're like, right, this is the story of this. Meet Me on the Corner. It's got all the lyrics.
You had to sell that to me, not remember, because I wanted that. Remember the We've Gotten Out Else, that Sting track, all like the sailor thing.
No, it's too.
You were like,
sorry,
it's too,
Sting. It's too sea shanty.
No, but you were like, it's too sea shanty, and in my head I was like, no, it matched it.
Yeah.
But then the second I heard Elizabeth's voice, a bit like Ruby, we just like, that's perfect.
Yeah. So we used that. We recorded it with a local girl, Elizabeth Little. She sang her version of that song, "Meet Me on the Corner"
By Linda's Fawn.
by Linda's Fawn. And we always do things backwards. You create it and then you kind of figure it out from then. It's a bit of a long story, but anyway,
But do you remember how it happened?
we got sign off. Well, because of you,
It was mental. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just total coincidence.
yeah, because we couldn't get sign off.
Couldn't
for a
get sign
song.
off from Linda's Fawn.
Yeah.
And then I remembered that a friend of mine, Rod Clement, was our stepdad.
Yeah.
Just remember, we literally just WhatsApped her.
This
and
happened.
said,
This has been
"Do you
happening for the
think
past 2
there'll
months.
be a problem
Yeah.
with us
These
doing
links,
this?"
Yeah.
And she played it to Rod,
Yeah.
if you remember, and he just went, "I love that."
Yeah, we recorded Elizabeth's version. It was fantastic, really good, showcasing a local artist. And then, I mean, we've met Rod, we've interviewed him, we did a film, we did a meeting with Rod and Elizabeth. We've done a music video for
Theme
Elizabeth.
within a theme.
But it's all that connecting the dots together. And
Yeah.
that's what the whole thing about Local Heroes is about. It's just bringing them all together. And, yeah, there's so many layers to everything, though. We could talk.
And I don't think
for
many
a
people
long
do
time
that
about every
justice, and I
single
think
thing.
that's why this feels unique. And I think for both of us, for probably different reasons, for me, it was definitely like a creative itch that I needed to scratch. And I knew, I think from experience of working from an industry side for me, there's never been enough of that. And I think, Timmy, you asked the question before actually, but so if I went right back in my career to where I started in my food work, like, there was never anybody doing a good job at talking about producers and about people. And
Well, that's
I
how it
think
makes it all, that's how it
it is, but it's also what brings a plate of food to life.
Yeah.
It's also what brings, so when I my sort of tipping point when I was working for Tradecraft, I mean, I had the opportunity of traveling all over the place, all over the world, and quite literally coined myself like this like ethical man from Del Monte, because it's what I did.
Yeah.
I would travel. We talked about it yesterday. I would travel to Guatemala, get picked up by a farmer, and spend 2 weeks completely off the beaten track, learning about, I don't know, the coffee supply chain. Or I'd go to Swaziland and learn about pineapples, right? And it was exactly the same process that we're going through here, whittling away to the kind of the nucleus of a story about a person or a family that have done something for a.
But it's kind of it's being able to do something without anything blocking what we want to do, and it's all about the idea. It's all about the idea, but the idea comes from a true, purposeful place.
Well, how many times we can talk about frustration now, like the amount of times we've tried to position something that we think's interesting.
Done a million things, just
And we
didn't
put it in
fly,
front of people,
you know?
and they're like,
Yeah.
"All right, okay,
Yeah.
I'll go with somebody else.
Thanks,
or
but no thanks, yeah.
or we'll do a different or a diluted version of this,
It's been
or
picked off a shelf or something getting diluted down, and it's just so frustrating. So why don't we just start this thing?
create our own universe."
Create our own universe, start it, and do the things that we both want to do, and bring them all together.
Yeah.
Which is perfect. It's like yesterday with the markets, man. It's such a nice feeling to see.
And I'm hoping it lands with people, like how it all fits together. The podcasts, the films, the merchandise, the markets.
Yeah.
They all play a different role in telling the same stories.
Yeah. What was the question in the first place? What do you just do? And that's that's where we are.
What?
But it's a hard thing yesterday. The journalist
Introduce
yesterday
yourself.
introduced us yesterday. She was lovely, but it's like
was.
she's used to doing that. Introduce yourself. What's Local Heroes about? And you put on the spot and you go, well, how long have you got? How long's a piece of string? But we don't have that elevator pitch down yet. But we know what it's about.
Do I want it down?
I don't know. The thing
don't
is,
know if we do.
yeah, but we have it on the website. We have it on the YouTube channel. We have it on all of the things where you can find all the stuff, because people want to know a little bit about it. But it's easier writing it than talking about
But do you know what it is, though?
Because we go off on tangents and there's nuance in absolutely everything we talk about.
Something that I feel passionate about, and I think you'll be exactly the same. There's a risk. Like, yeah, we've got it on the website. We know what the mission is.
Yeah.
We talk about people, place, purpose, community, right? But I don't want to have like a hard line in the sand about what it is we do, because
No,
as soon as we do that, there's an expectation, and that's the world we're trying to get out
it's
of, because we want the flexibility
Flexibility, yeah.
to evolve and change and do different things.
But I mean, it just shows that we have everybody who sits in this room. We wanted this. We're just going to come in and have a chat with the lads You're supposed to be in your living room. It's supposed to be comfortable. We start just having conversations and the thing's off and running. This is the whole point.
That's
it's
the
the
key to
flow of a
conversation.
conversation.
Because somebody said
It
to me
is.
though, I listened to the interview. No, it's not an interview. It's a conversation.
It's a conversation. It's not an interview. It's a
And
conversation. So, oh, Tim, you can't be
Tim.
opening pop bottles in the room.
What
What's the
flavour
matter with
you
you?
got today, Tim?
Thought I'd get
Oh,
away
wait, man.
with that.
You're never getting away with that. Tim's opening pop bottles in the corner. Oh,
All right,
no,
Tim,
you
it
know
better
what? It's
be
like,
worth it now. What flavour?
Is that or cough?
it-
This is
it's
my own mixture.
Oh, come on.
all right.
Tim's own mixture?
Tim's own mixture. You're on mic there, Tim.
Okay.
Oh, well, let's say.
Come on, Tim's own
hang on,
mixture.
sorry, Tim's ruined our pod, our solo pod
I mean,
soda stream bottle.
with his soda stream
past
bottle.
12 o'clock, like, so it's time for.
That's it.
I'll clear me throat as well.
Can I say that, man? You drove.
Um,
You're getting called out. Everyone gets called out in this
No,
podcast.
I
we
mean-
call each other out.
I mean, it's
You know what I mean?
lunchtime coming up.
lunchtime
I'm
coming
looking
up.
at the clock.
Oh, you're
We've
just,
got a thing at
yeah,
12.
What's that? You
quenching
can't-
your thirst.
It's like you can't have chocolate before
So-
12, isn't it?
I make my own non-alcoholic cocktails,
Oh, you
Okay.
talked about this.
and this
All
is
right,
a,
okay.
this is a light. It's a light mix, so it's like not too many calories, just
Hang
a
on. I can hear a sales pitch coming out.
fizzy water
Chris.
and a few other things.
Come to stores near you.
Some bitters. I was thinking about this all morning actually. I was like, oh, how would I? What qualifications do I need, like hygiene wise, to do service at a stall? Anyway, it's just a few bitters. Nothing. It's like not pop. It's grown up,
Yeah.
and non-alcoholic and not too sweet. I don't like sweeteners. I hate artificial.
What bitter is it? Because we talked about Negroni being my favourite cocktail, and
Yeah.
I can get a flavour like that in a.
This is I can make you a Negroni. I can make you a Negroni. I need to restock some of my syrups. But
I wish people could see the face of cunning
Yeah.
that Tim has when he's talking about this.
I just like when he said, I just like restock my
The
syrups.
wizard.
Restock my syrups. You know that's going to be a thing. We're out on a t-shirt in 2 weeks. Restock my syrups.
Tim Syrups.
Tim
That's it.
Syrups.
Yeah.
Tim Syrups.
I did fancy this being a bit like a QVC.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay,
Little
yeah.
banner across the bottom,
Yeah.
Tim Syrups.
Tim Syrups.
Would have
Tim
to be a
Syrups?
dollar sign though.
Is that not a
No.
is that not a country and western singer? That's Tim Stirrups. Tim Stirrups. Tim Stirrups.
Tim Syrups is a great name.
It's a good name, Tim Stirrups. Anyway, we're
I
going
had
off
to
on
have
a
this
tangent.
conversation this morning. Somebody was talking about a school crush. Said my crush. Now I'd Mike Rush.
Mike Rush, yeah. Well, we're not going to do the other Mike one. So
do you remember when we worked at Jessup's years ago?
Yeah, it's a million
And
years
we
ago,
had
that one.
these warranties we used to sell,
Mm-hmm.
and it was an insurance company that did the warranty back in. It was like an extra damage protection and stuff. And someone from the other shop locally rang up and said, "Have you got any of those forms for the Mexican General?" And I was like,
The Mexican General.
I was like, what? Who? And I, 3 times, I'm like, can you just? And she was like, she got frustrated. This was Emma.
Yeah.
And she was dead sharp, and she went, "Domestic and General." And I was like, oh yeah, Domestic and General.
The Mexican
The
General.
Mexican General.
But,
I love that.
but now I've
Misheard lyrics.
yeah. But now I've got an image in my head of a Mexican General.
No, I've got
you know.
coming to a street food truck near you.
But the thing is, his mustache is fantastic.
Is he like
My
a sort
head.
of budget version of the Colonel on a KFC?
No, but he's
a
quite
competitor brand.
No, but he's quite stern. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? With his chin's raised like that, you know, he's quite, big mustache, but it covers like all of his lip. You know, like Sam Elliott,
Oh man, do you know what it is, Tim?
massive mustache,
Great idea for like a
Massive-
burrito bar or something.
massive mustache.
Yeah,
by the
fajitas,
General.
burritos.
Yeah.
Yeah, a Mexican General.
Well, we talked yesterday about the goat, the coffee shop,
Yes,
the greatest of all
greatest
time.
of all time.
Just because somebody wrote us something, drew a picture on a lid of a dog
Around
and wrote oat, didn't
Yeah,
they?
yeah.
Because we got a few drinks mixed up with normal milk and oat milk for Laura, and I was like, well, that should
wanted to have an illustration.
that should have been a goat, shouldn't it? With like oat coming off the bottom of it, and then you were like, it's a good name for a coffee shop, the goat, because it's the greatest
Goat.
of all time.
Yeah.
I'm like, we just need a monkey little
I
sketch
think
of the
I
goat.
think there is a goat. Is there not a goat? Do you remember when you filmed the thing with I always say Big Pete.
Big Pete.
Big Pete.
Oh,
You did
after
the coffee
Arwen.
thing.
Yeah, it
was
was-
that not?
after
when
Arwen.
you did the remember
no.
we tried those masterclass things, the barista trainer.
Yeah.
And Pete did that thing. That's the goat, wasn't it? but I don't think it was the greatest of all time.
No, I don't think it was.
I don't even think that term existed in people's
Was it the
minds
happy
before
goat
then.
or something like that? It was.
There's
It was,
some-
it was
Canny goat.
Canny goat. I was the canny goat. It was very northeastern.
Greatest of all time is a new.
The greatest of all time, or the goat. Well,
Yeah.
people use it all the time, but I think the goat for a coffee shop's a good idea, isn't it? It's a good name.
Like I
But,
said, the go-to coffee shop.
Go-to.
Problem
Go
is
to,
that
yeah.
everyone would think you just do goat milk lattes.
Yeah. What we could do?
Carve a niche.
Oh, how? We'll have the goat inside. You can milk your own goat in your coffee before you
Well,
leave.
I was
yeah.
watching. I think it was.
But you got to catch the
You
goat
could
first.
buy one of these
Like Rocky, you know, the
goat
chicken-
milk lattes to wash down your burrito from the Mexican general.
I don't
like the chicken on Rocky. You got to catch the goat.
because
Fast, crazy speed, crazy fast speed.
You know they make cheese out of goat's milk, but you don't actually get it often in the shop now.
Yeah.
And I was watching, I think, Food Unwrapped, and they went through a whole thing about how to make the cheese, and the woman says, I think, why is this not just? Why can I not just drink this? And the guy who makes the cheese says, because it's got too much, it's too rich. You can't. I don't think you could make a goat milk latte. I think you'd have to.
Yeah,
I don't think any. I
you
don't.
could
To be
have-
honest, I don't think anyone
Sorry,
cares.
I'm
do
a
you know
bit
what I mean?
distracted.
So, yeah, I know. So,
Because you've just said, because you've just said that, like Rocky chasing the chicken.
chasing the chicken.
All I can hear in my head is,
Go get a
"You're gonna eat thunder and crap lightning."
Yeah, that's it. It's sad, but yeah,
It
I
was
mean,
like my
yeah,
granda, you
yeah.
know.
Well, yours, yeah, but that's it. You know, always fagging mouth, just hanging
Oh,
handicap
Mick
style,
was
like hanging out
incredible,
the
like-
side. Yeah, yellow fingers.
But my granddad talked like Mick as well. Looked
Yeah.
like him and talked like him.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, mine was quite softly spoken from the old mining background, mining community, all engineers walking
Yeah.
down the pit.
No, my granddad was shipyards.
Yeah,
He'd jump over the wall, get a day off from that.
or like Heather Nick and
My
Pop
granddad-
Balls. So yeah,
Just like that?
Heather Nick and Pop
My
Balls.
granddad, the Polish one, he made handbags.
Really?
He had, you know, the Tower Bridge cloth handbag type. Those
Yeah, yeah.
tourism. I think that was the main. Like they did all kinds of stuff. I think he owned the business,
Yeah.
but he liked his vodka.
What did he have?
He would.
Well, he's Polish, of course.
Polish, yeah.
Right. It's just
Yeah, but I think he liked it so much that
More
there
than
was
the
no money for
bags.
food. The money was
Oh,
spent.
really?
Yeah,
all right.
got
Okay.
shouted
yeah.
at.
Gosh, shouted at.
That kind of granddad. Yeah.
I mean, he, you know, in fairness, he had trauma. He was
Yeah.
came over during the war.
Ah,
and the war.
man. We can go down a rabbit hole of PTSD, and it doesn't matter where you're from, what you do. But you know, I've heard too many podcasts. Tim, don't get a start. Don't get a start. Like nutrition, don't get a start. Anyway, what we're talking about?
I think we're talking about Little Heroes.
We're talking about local heroes, but I think it was that the elevator pitch because of the interview from yesterday,
I-
and we felt it's been caught on the spot, isn't it? What do you do?
Yeah, I
Bang,
know,
go,
but,
read
like,
it. It was like,
kind of-
how do we do
It
this?
felt, I don't know, it's quite an odd admission, this, but it felt quite relief. I thought it was a relief because if you watch it, I don't want to say
can't
what we're
watch it.
doing. It's not an anti-establishment thing. That's not what we're doing. But
It's not what we're
but
doing.
I like the fact that.
But I hate labels. Why do I have to
yeah.
label everything?
Well,
do you know
people,
what I mean?
well, Tim, you
Winds
said,
us
what's
up.
your title? We were like, I haven't got
I
one.
haven't got a title. Do you know what I mean?
And I
We're
think-
co-owners of local heroes. We all
You
come
don't get
together.
many opportunities, right, when you start a business, whether it's your business or it's Fadney or whether it's Local Heroes, to start with a blank canvas and say, like, we want to create our own world
Yeah.
because we're quite difficult people. Everybody's difficult, right, in their own way. But we want to create a world that fits us
Yeah.
and we can fit into.
Yeah.
Why would we create it in the shape of something that we've not liked being part of for
Yeah.
such a long time?
Yeah, but there's many elements to what we do, and they all work together.
Yeah.
They all connect together, and they all make sense, and they're not the same thing all of the
But
time.
they do make sense. So if you go to the website, wearelocalheroes.com, it hangs together. It makes sense. We
It
said that
does.
yesterday with
Yeah.
the market. The market is another platform to provide, well, it's to provide opportunity for people, right, and for businesses. But in terms of all of the other things that it does, it's celebrating local food culture. It's celebrating a place.
Yeah.
It's celebrating the people that come to that place, and it's giving people an opportunity to see what is important to them, showcased and celebrated
Yeah.
in a way that sometimes doesn't happen.
Yeah.
We've always talked about. I mean, I'll go on to this in a minute, but it's easy to do the glossy stuff. It's easy to talk about the Millennium Bridge, or it's easy to talk about the Angel of the North, or it's easy to talk about putting Hawaii Man on a postcard, right? Easy. but it's not everything the Northeast's about.
No, of course
We've
it's
got
not.
so many things to talk about.
Yeah.
And so many things that, you know, I go on, and I don't want to sound kind of like I'm being a pseudo creative, right? But the whole Paul Gauguin thing, where do you come from? Where are we going? What are we? Are the three things that always stay in my head with anything I do, anything you approach. It's got to address those three things because it means that you're including everybody, right? There's no pocket of a community that should feel left behind by what we do, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes I think I always bang on about it. This is taking a bit of a serious turn, but the difference between regenerating a place and gentrifying it is a huge thing, right? Gentrifying, it's just making it a bit nicer and posher and probably less inclusive, and regenerating it is taking everybody on a journey, right? Celebrating the past, but not being stuck to it.
Yeah.
Being able to move forward with an eye on the past. But yeah, you know, I've told you before, I lived in Glasgow for 5 years. Glasgow's great at telling its story without looking like it's nostalgic. So if you go there, it's got a great food scene, great music scene, cultural scene's great, but it still feels like a working class city, right? Because they've managed to get that balance where they've pulled their past forward, right? And I remember I've got into trouble loads of times with local authorities and people, and I can say this because I've had these public arguments about, you know, in Glasgow, I think some cranes are listed, right? So they can't ever come down because they're like heritage sites. I always felt here that they would just pull them down if there was another development because nobody wants to look at that. And nobody wants to look back at the past like that. And this is going right way back to probably about not 1990s. It was probably about 2005. I was opening a restaurant. And I ran my restaurant in exactly the same way as we're trying to aspire to do Local Heroes. It's all about the story. And I remember one Northeast. I went to an event. And it was at the time, the chief exec at the time, I can't remember her name, but she said something and it really like pissed me off. Because I was at a networking event. I would have been 24, 23, just on the cusp of starting my own business, which was all about celebrating the Northeast. And she said something about, it's time to move on and bury the flat cap and whippets and stop talking about pigeons. And it was something, right? And I don't know if it's because of, like, you know, when you come from a community like that, you're the same.
Yeah.
It's like a pocket within a pocket of a place that is important to all the people that live there, but isn't important enough for the powers that be to consider it important.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, yeah, you want to talk about burying the past, but you haven't even celebrated it yet, or give those people an opportunity to be proud of it.
Yeah.
And I thought we're on dangerous territory because I thought if we're just going to redevelop the whole of the Northeast on the basis of everything needing to be new, then we may as well be like Dubai, you know, just building something new on top of nothing.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that to happen. And I think like that's why all the stuff and our rabbit hole WhatsApp groups talking about the fish key and merchandise ideas, they're coming from a place. Even though when they come out, they seem humorous and fun, and they are, but they're coming from an important place.
Yeah, important place, frustration, anger and resentment, but it's putting those things into a better use and a better purpose.
100%.
And I think we talked about this yesterday or a few days ago. We're talking about working class snobbery, because those two words are kind of, they're nice together, aren't they? It's a working class snobbery. Because you always want to get out of where you're from and what you do. And, you know, I was raised in that kind of stuff. And, but you weren't taught, but your grandparents weren't, and you went round to see them, and there's the yellow sailings, and you're picking crab at your nana's kitchen table. You know, you're going down to Jackie White's, and you're getting broken biscuits on a Saturday. You know, I was in the my granddad's three-wheel car, going down to South Shales on a Saturday, eating fish and chips in a steamed up car. You know, all of us, four of us, sitting in a steamed up three-wheel car on the side of the road, eating fish and chips, and we'd eat mussels, whelks, and prawns, and all this kind of stuff.
Think,
you know what I mean?
you look at like food culture now. People think that you would think that had never happened before. That was only like 30 years ago. Right. It's within our generation where there wasn't all these like icks and fussiness about food. I remember eating, the fish man and all that, and buying
the
like
fish man.
crab sticks
That's
and
what we're talking about. The fish man, the pot man.
yeah,
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
And it's hard to pin down. And I go back to the whole gentrification thing. I think it's because we've moved so quickly to modernise everything that we've left some really important things behind.
Yeah, but there's no harm in doing that. There's no harm in modernising stuff, but do it in a respectful way that respects the past and where you're from. Do you know what I mean? Because it's the flat cap and whippet thing. Seriously, I still hear about that today, and people still go, "We're not going to do flat caps and whippets. We're not about that." I'm like, why are you even bringing it up?
Yeah,
you're bringing it up. You've
So,
still
well,
got a problem
A,
with it. We
well-
don't have a problem
well,
with
that's
it.
the
You've
point.
got a problem with it. Do you know what I
A,
mean?
you don't need to be ashamed of it.
Yeah,
B, we don't need to talk about it.
yeah,
But again, you don't need to be ashamed of it.
yeah. But
Like, part of the thing for me, it's the shame. And I don't think until, like, we chatted to Si about this on the podcast,
Yeah.
until we let go of that shame, we won't move on as a region.
Yeah, but it's kind of the fashion is people are wearing flat caps, and it's a £140 flat cap, and they're bringing the whippet, but it's got a coat on, but it's
Barbacoat.
a barbacoat. But the thing is, it's like, but I get it, right, and it's that because it frustrates the life out of you, but I just don't understand that way of thinking, and it's the pigeon things. But you'll watch a documentary on it, and you'll lean into it. And there's stuff on the BBC about that, like pigeon fancies and stuff. We're still doing the same thing. But one side's complaining about it and one side's commissioning the thing to go and, let's go and have a look at this. This is unusual. It's become unusual now. We've got John Kirtley on there. He goes out in the woods. He teaches kids through falconry and stuff like that. You're not putting...
The real Kes.
But it is the real, it's Billy Casper from Kes, the real Kes. And are you going to lump him into like flat caps and whippets? But he's going ferreting. Rabbiting. He's outdoors all of the time. He's fantastic at that, but now it's a fashion thing, and it's almost become glossy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, he's off the grid. It's kind of off the grid living. We've
I've
been
just got
out
an image of John on the cover of GQ with a falcon on his
with a
hand like
falcon on
that.
his hand, just all dressed in green. Do you know what I mean? Aye, with these kids scraps of baby chicks, kind of feeding the falcons. It's just. There's so much in that, and he's helped so many kids out through education by falconry because he was in education, being told to teach the kids who couldn't be sitting in the classrooms, and he was frustrated, so he took it upon himself to go and do that himself and create his own business. Is that not what a local hero is all about? Yeah. That right there is exactly what we're talking about, and it's got nothing to do with food related, but it has got something to do with food related because what does he do? He goes and cooks bushcraft food in the woods, and he teaches people how to do that, making a fire, all these lovely practical skills that if, God forbid, the electricity went down, we'll all be at John's house. Do you know what I mean? Go, John, can you help us out? I don't know what to do. He'd know. He'd be happy as Larry in the woods building a camp. It's so important to keep that, and it doesn't have to be that flat caps and whippets mentality, because that's what that's what you're saying to me when you say that. You're having a gripe. It's somebody I've made 5 films at who I know really well and I respect, and he's on Robson Green next week, and TV shows about these people, and same as Side King. It's that ethos. It's where you're from, but having a passion for that. I know Si hates that word passion, but you're passionate about what you do and you care about where you're from, and it's a community thing. And chuck all the words out of it. You've just got to see it to believe it. And I think that's important, and that's what we're trying to do.
See,
put it out there.
Statement. It's a community thing.
It's a community thing. But it's all about community.
It is.
It's all about community, and we'd be nowhere without community. You know what happens when you build a community? Things get better around you. Everyone starts looking after their neighbourhoods. Everyone starts learning about other things. It's education inside your homes, and you start talking about food, and then you're sharing recipes, and everyone's looking after each other, and you keep an eye on the kids, and I can go on and on and on about this all day long.
The thing is, though, it's really interesting because sometimes I get pelters, right? Because you've got to remember, my other work spills into local authorities and public health, and we're sitting on here and we're talking about Greg's orders and pink slices, and I don't think they understand sometimes that, they might think that we're recklessly advocating bad food decisions and all that. It's not. I think it's really important that people start talking about food. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
That's the sort of base camp, right? Start talking about it. Don't treat it like a thing that just happens to you, or it's a transactional thing. You just get it from a shop on the way home. start talking about it.
Yeah.
That's where the beginning of any journey for anybody starts with food.
Yeah.
It's acknowledging it as a thing and it belonging to you and you feeling comfortable talking about it.
But we asked the Greg's order. Everybody has their Greg's order.
They do.
There's something to be said about that. And it is a thing because everybody knows it's a thing. And even if you are health conscious, it could be a treat and you're still going in there. I'll go in with my kids. I've eaten Greg's so many years, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that thing. I know association. We were talking about Peter's, which was the Greg's before Greg's came along, do you know what I mean?
Greg's
You know,
before Greg's.
it was.
I know
You know, we were
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
we were going, the pasties were better, the round pasties and the corned beef and the sausage rolls are small and they're more crispy and all. Like, we can go all day about this kind of stuff, and that's the whole point. Is we're talking about our memories. I'm talking about fish and chips on the quay in me granddad's 3-wheel blue car. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Getting tabash flicked in your eye when he's going down the A99. Do you know what I mean? With his window cracked. Tabash.
But we talked about that. When were we talking about that again?
I don't know. We
Fried-
haven't
fried
said
an
that
egg.
yet.
With
So
Fried an egg with a cigarette in your mouth. Hang on, you're free of Bentos pie. That's what
You
it
want
is
an
to
egg
live on
sandwich,
that,
son?
Yeah. Well, it's something that's sweet bullets, but it's part of who we are. It's
Tim's
part of
gonna
how
ask
we're
a
raised.
question.
Hang on, Tim.
Tim,
now,
what's that
now that
question?
it's your solo one-on-one mano a mano, what's your Greg's orders? Are you going to do that?
Oh, mine's so predictable, man. I did it.
That's
I've already done it.
nevertheless,
Do you want to know my Greg's order now?
Go
What
on.
I had last
Go
week.
on,
Oh.
get you in,
Right.
ask each other the question.
Go
Go
on.
on,
boring.
take it out.
I've done it before. Bacon, extra bacon, flat white, extra shot.
Yeah, we've done this. Yeah.
I don't think it's changed.
Yeah.
I don't think it's changed.
Mhm.
Probably for 3 years.
But that's a breakfast thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
it's the same with Nick Barnes. He's like, you got to get there before 11, so the bacon doesn't run out and all that kind of stuff. So it's everyone has their own thing.
Every
Everyone
time I
has the
change,
favourite.
I might get some contraband stotties.
Contraband stotties.
Yeah.
Again, John Curtley, grab a bag of stotties for later on
Yeah,
because he'd
totally.
have that with his fry up.
Well, it's almost like, do you know, it's like when you order a Diet Coke with a full pizza.
Yeah.
Like, you go to Greg's and you order a bacon sandwich with extra bacon. When you add the stotties on, you feel a bit more adult.
Stotties on.
Oh, they're for later because I'm
for later.
responsible. I might make the kids a sandwich.
Yeah. Aye. I mean, there's no better than a ham and peas pudding stotty though,
There's not.
especially with the butter. You got to
Disappointed with some people's comments yesterday with peas pudding.
Really? Oh, somebody talking about they didn't like peas pudding.
2 people in a row.
Well, no, well that's
Won't
the thing,
touch
you know. Yeah, I know, and you're gonna bang on. You're gonna ask me my Greg's order, and I always give everybody a caveat of present or past because, as you well know, I am conscious about what I eat, and I can't eat that kind of stuff anymore.
Don't miss anything off the menu. Grab
If the
menu,
thing, no,
make
no,
sure-
no, we're gonna do it, right? We'll go down there. Do you know what I mean? Because you need to know. Because I can't eat pasties, pastry, bread, all these kind of lovely, tasty things, but I've had a lifetime of eating those things. So,
So come on.
what's mine? Always was a corned beef and a sausage roll. And like Cy King, the sausage roll was on the way, was first. It was a travel food.
Yeah.
Pocket meats, do you know what I mean? It was on the way to where you're going. That didn't count.
Yeah, warm up.
It was a warm up. It was a little starter. The amuse bouche of street food. That's what
To get the palate moving.
The northeast amuse bouche. That was it. You know, right? Just to get the because it didn't really
We
count.
did call
So
them
that was
Jared
it.
dummies, you know. when I
Jared
grew up.
dummies. Yeah, but that's it. But it was, but it's something so nice about us. Everybody. And because everybody adds it on. And I'll have a sausage roll because I'll have that now before I get the car. Do you know what I mean? And that's what that is. Because we obviously now we talked about this as well. We weren't allowed to eat in the street when I was a kid. You
No,
did
no,
not
no,
eat in
no.
the street. Now it's just like pastries everywhere. Do you know what I mean? It's like flicking people in the eye like the tabac.
I had a really interesting about a sausage roll. Actually, funny enough, I had a really interesting conversation
I
with
think
a
I'm going to
friend
say
of mine.
dream about that. I dream about
I
sausage
probably
roll.
had a dream about a sausage roll as well. But I was talking to a colleague, somebody we work with at Newcastle University.
Okay.
I'm going to get her on here at some point.
Okay.
But she was telling me that she went to a Catholic school in Northumberland, right? And it was so frowned upon eating outdoors that the disruptive snack of choice was a Greg's sausage roll, because they worked it out that by the time they walked around the park, it was the only thing they could eat
That's the
in a
timing.
timely fashion
Yeah.
without being caught.
Yeah, that's it. It's about timing. But I will say that when they did the ham and peas pudding stotties, this is when, right, I have to let you know that I was a larger person at one point.
As I am now, we've swapped places.
No, I was a tad. I think I pushed the limits a bit. So I would have a ham and peas pudding, and I would probably get corned beef pasty, and I would get a sausage roll.
No, I've been there.
That's where I would be, and I would get like a bottle of Oasis.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's kind of where I was back in the day. Now, I'd have the ham and peas pudding on its own without anything else, and that's where I'm at now.
Mate,
Do you know what I mean?
honestly, because we know we've shared
I
this. We're
love
both
peas
very
pudding
similar people, right?
With a spoon, wrap it in
So-
the ham, bang,
Ah.
lovely. It's beautiful, stringy ham.
I used to, yeah. Do you know I used to buy it by the pound?
Yeah.
In a butcher's.
Aye.
Go to Dixon's, right? And
Aye.
you buy peas pudding and wrap it up. When you put it in the fridge and it goes to like this big block, you just slice it, sprinkle a bit of salt in it, and wrap it in a bit of ham.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, usually because I do wrap it in ham. Because if I go to the farm shop, I've had no lunch. Let's get 4 slices of ham, and I'll have a tub of peas pudding. Well, that's my lunch in the van. Do you know what I mean? And you're wrapping, you're putting, like you're doing, spoonful peas pudding in the ham, in your goes. Put the
perfect
salt from the
canapé.
ham. It's perfect.
Dinner
canapé.
parties.
Yeah. Is that the amuse bouche? The northeast amuse
Yeah.
bouche. Yeah. Yeah. What's an
gotta
amuse
say,
bouche? It's the thing before you start eating. Tim, can I throw it over to you because I need a wee?
There were certain things in school I just never liked, and I mean, I'm not a pure Geordie, as I mentioned.
What's a pure Geordie these days, Tim,
Oh,
anyway?
exactly. But I mean, granddad's Scottish, granddad's Polish, so
Yeah.
you know, Geordie Scottish, like my mum's dad. She got in trouble. She went to Larsa Jess. She got in trouble for drinking a pop bottle on the street.
Did you?
I think she actually got caned.
Yeah, what just shows though, and how long would that have been?
That would have been in the 60s.
60s. It's not a great deal of time passed when you think about it. And you think about how acceptable it is now for people to...
Oh, those were the nuns as well. The teachers
Yeah,
were all
well,
nuns.
that's the girl I was talking about. Exactly the same thing, nuns. It was just so frowned upon. Eating in public.
Yeah, I remember hearing someone as a kid. Another adult said to another adult, "I've seen you eating your lunch in the street," and commented that was be the 1990s and 80s.
We would have been the transition generation, wouldn't we? Think about it. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember when that became normal.
Well, my sausage roll in public, apart from school dinners, walking back from Morrison's over in Tynemouth to
Yeah.
Lincoln High, that was common. Back in the day when you could get 4 sausage rolls for £1, and so you would.
Ah, it's weird
You'd
though.
get
Like
through
I'm just
3 and
saying,
you'd give one to a friend.
I'm trying to work out where the transition point
Mine
is.
used to
Bag
get
of-
4 cheeseburgers.
Bag of donuts and a bag of jam donuts.
Jammy donuts,
And
jam ring.
and 4 cheese and onion pasties. Like
My
Morrison's
brother was
back in
always
the day.
cheese. I was always corned beef. So
Well, I
was
like
the
the
cheese and the
cheese one
corned
as
beef
well.
divide in the house.
I know, but they're both
always-
the same. These days, the ratios aren't right of the key ingredient.
You know what? Been banging
Do you know what I
been banging about food with the kids as well. And my wife just bought a toasting machine. I used to make fantastic toasties. You know, when we were 19, 20 and we got together, that was a Sunday. Sunday was toasty day. Do you know what I mean? So you'd have your Sunday dinner.
Do you make them in a toasting
Mum-
machine, or like do you make them?
Make them in a toasting machine, but it's all about the bread that fits in that toasting machine. It's
Yeah,
a
it
shape. Because for me, it bugs the life out of me if you're cooking it and you've got a little gap and the cheese starts to spill out and it starts to sizzle. Because for me, well, you're losing cheese, and also that bread, that toast is going to start getting a bit moist. There's a trick though. You can kind of, if you push it in with a knife and hold it there, it'll actually solidify and it causes a dam
Oh, I bet
within
when you
the
cook an
bread.
egg and you hold the albumin just
Yeah,
to stop
yeah,
it
yeah.
spilling all the way
Just
around
to
the
kind
pan.
of block the hole.
Dan
There's
Prince's
a
cheese
technique.
cauterizer.
Yeah, but we used to have, remember the M&S tinned ham?
Yeah,
It was nice. It was
Yeah,
really
yeah,
nice,
it
that
was.
tinned ham.
yeah.
Shout out to Spam as well. So the tinned ham, and then I'd like a red Leicester because it's got some depth to that
It
thing.
melts
do you know what I mean?
well.
It melts well as well. Plus it holds up and it goes quite solid quite quick. So my cheese on toast was always the red Leicester. But I'm saying my childhood through my little girl's eyes now because
Yeah.
she likes all the stuff that I like, the sweets, the melted cheese,
Yeah, yeah.
the ham and cheese toasties, all of this
My
stuff.
daughter's the same.
Corned beef and onion as well was mine.
Oh.
I used to have a ham and cheese and a corned beef and onion. Perfect. You got to have
Nothing
two.
quite like. No, do you not remember going to
Have two.
I used to work in I illegally worked in bars probably when I was 16. Then I ended up working at a social club as a barman. Do you not remember the social club toasties?
Wasn't illegal. Social Club toast was the best.
In those little sort of plastic wrappers, and they used to go in that grill machine or quid.
I remember Philadelphia Cricket Club when I was 13. The best toasties.
Oh,
I still remember it now.
they were amazing.
Amazing.
Corned beef, cheese, that's
Yeah.
it.
But I
Nothing
think they had that flat, the reheat. so there's no spillage, and it's perfect, optimal temperature as well. But you know, you've always got to risk it's going to come
You've got
out
to risk it.
at 110 degrees, hitting that lip. You end up with a blister on your lip off some chase toasty. But I
Talk
honestly,
about toasties, you know, I made one the other day, and I got a flashback, right? Because I went to someone's house when I was a kid, and we were quite purist about toasties. So it was cheese or corned beef and onion. That was it.
yeah,
One or the other. I went to
no,
someone's-
you wouldn't do one then the other
Oh no, I would.
on the
But
same
in
plate.
terms- oh no, I would.
Okay,
But would only do those flavours.
I've got to add this to the
Right.
board. I think cheese toasties.
Only corned beef and onion or cheese
yeah.
and onion.
Yeah.
Right? I went to someone's house once for a sleepover. I think I left.
Really?
Right?
What? Just
I
disputes.
wasn't like a food store.
In disgust.
It was such a curveball. Like, I mean, you're toasty. I was like, what is it?
It's working class snob. but
Remember
you'll
those?
win.
It was. Do you remember the tins of sausage and beans?
Aye, yeah.
It was that.
My favourite. Sausage
Sausage
beans.
and bean toasty. I drained off some of the liquid and put the sausage and beans in the toasty. And I was a bit like,
I don't know how that's going to work.
what on earth is this? Oh, I'm going to have to go home for my tea. Forgot that I've got to go home. I thought you were having a sleepover. Yeah, I forgot.
I can't say that. I can't say that working. I used to love beans on toast, like sausage and beans on toast. Sausage and
Yeah.
beans on toast was like another level, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Same as tin
Again,
ravioli
got to
and
get
all
the
that
butter
stuff.
right
yeah.
on the toast. With the beans on toast.
Butter right on the toast, and it's all about. We were talking about this yesterday. It's like having little icebergs of like butter
Yeah.
on the actual
Yeah.
bread. So it's
Partial
got a
melt.
Partial melt.
Is that another name?
Partial
Mexican
melt.
kernel.
Partial melt.
I want to ask Dan. Dan, how are you having toasties now?
Hi, my name
Partial
is Melt.
melt.
Partial
Partial
melt.
melt. Partial melt. Oh, that's on a t-shirt. So these, so the whole. Hang on. This is how the merch kind of comes up. This is how
Partial
that
melt,
picture ended
yeah.
up.
Lamb.
That's how that's on the wall because of these
Yeah.
conversations right here. So
Oh,
we'll
can't
have to-
talk too much about the
How are you
Not
having?
yet, not yet.
What bread are you putting in the toasty that you're eating now, or are you just enjoying the vicarious?
No,
watching
I am going back to memories of the past, Tim.
Alright.
The thing is, right?
So your wife.
I'm
just
gonna
bought a toast
get
to make it you
I'm
can't
gonna
enjoy.
get all the hoo-ha completely about. Well, you don't eat that, done, and why you're just lying, aren't you? I'm like, no, I'm not actually, because
You're not lying.
the fact is, I've got evidence. I'll show you pictures. That this man has eaten everything twice over. I have done my time, right? I've done everything, all to the max, right? And now we're doing this to the
Like
max.
exit, double fleet, double Dan.
Double down, right? Double down, double D, yeah. But I love that. You still do not lose that passion for that thing. You do still not lose that want, and that it's such a lovely thing. It's great. It's like flavors of crisps. I've gone through them all. I just can't do it now, because if I do it now, I'm going to end up with like a million reactions. I think it's because I've overeaten it. That's my. If you want to go down the nutritional, let's get boring route, right?
Yeah.
I think it's important to talk about, and I think this should be part of what we do as well. It's the healthy side of how do you manage this? Well, I make me own corncakes with peanut butter. Every single person asks me everywhere I go, what's them? I'm carrying my little Tupperware. I've got me flask. I've got me nuts and me. Do you know what I mean? Right? Dry roasted. Slightly salted almonds. It hasn't got the sprinkles. It's that dry salt. You know, it's been in a vat of like a sea salt, and then there's a respect to what you eat in it, and you have to understand. I've got particular tastes, and I'm making things that don't exist
Well, that's the perfect
because I can't
opportunity,
find
though,
it.
for our branded products, right? So I've already got it.
Yeah.
I can't help
Pitching
it.
it. The health store.
I've just got an image of
Yeah,
you.
but it
like
is
an
because I
illustrated-
can't find. I've made my own protein bars, my own gluten-free kind of. I've done all sorts of things trying to find a way how to put these into my diet because I enjoy this stuff. Why can't I enjoy healthier, nice stuff to eat? Do you know what I mean?
Just
And I
got a
can't find
vision,
it.
right?
Can't
Little
find
packet, right?
Yeah.
Just a little packet. Get them on Emirates flights and that,
it.
right?
Yeah.
And it's got an illustrated version of like a stern. You a stern face?
Oh,
You
right.
have got quite a stern face.
Well,
do you have a
hang
stern
on,
face now?
do the Roy
Right.
Keane.
Yeah. Right, so that face with a bit of a cravat or something on, right? Illustrated. Colonel Corncake. Could you be your LNE, like an LNER
Hang on.
trade? Can
Hang
I
on.
just get a coffee, please?
Because I was going.
I'll get a double pack of kernel.
You know what I was going to
corncakes.
say? I was going to say he's a food Nazi. That's what I was going. We kind of do that, can't we? We can't do it the wrong way. But
Double
Colonel
the
Corncake.
Colonel
It's got a
cake.
canny ring to that.
Yes,
Colonel
yeah,
Corncake.
got to be
Corn
Colonel
kernel.
Corncake.
What about Kenny
It's like one of
Corncake?
those
Kenny
garbage pail
Corncake.
kids.
Oh, Kenny Corncake.
Could be like the Ronald McDonald of the
Corn-
health and well-being world.
Danny Corncake.
Turn up everywhere with a sort of like a yellow, a mustard
Dan
yellow
used
suit
to
on
be
him.
the
That.
Hamburglar for sure. Like,
The Hamburglar.
I've seen that picture.
Yeah.
Well, you knew me when I was just kind of. It was even before I started kind of getting into it. I just had to drop the others up. But when
I've
you
only
knew,
known you
no,
skinny,
no,
and then after.
yeah, but you've known, yeah, but you
Oh,
knew
have you
me.
known both Dans?
No, he hasn't.
I
Ross
knew
has.
skinny Dan,
Yeah, Ross.
but he
has.
showed us a picture back in the day, before the day.
But
And that's a
when I
Danny
was
Older
when I was
Pies.
with you and I was at college, it's just you've got to it's changing your diet so you're not eating everything. Do you know what I mean? Then things start to change on you. But when I first met you, Tim, I was still having a tuna cheese melt from the shop around the corner from Shiny College. No, it wasn't. It was Newcastle College. So I was eating them. Oh, you can't beat a tuna cheese melt, can you? No. So that's a delicious thing to have. So I was still eating them, but it was just going on the wrong areas. Do you know what I mean? And then 13 years ago, I had the magic formula by somebody showing us the way and teaching us, and it's all science, and it is, and it just changed my life overnight. Yeah. Never gone back. But now I've got to find my own healthy snacks, my own healthy way of kind of doing stuff. But I've got 1,000,001 stories about every single thing on that list. I've got 1,000,001, and I have the pictures to prove it. So yeah, I'm not. This might get cut out.
No, don't cut it out.
We
I've
need-
been on the same journey. Mine
Everyone
flipped.
needs to see that.
I
picture,
was his size.
before and after.
The thing
Seriously,
is,
when I was in my
yeah.
mid-20s, I was your size.
Yeah.
And because I had problems with my weight since I was like
never
10
thin,
years old.
Never.
Well, no, I look at me. I was like a 38 waist when I was like 11.
Right, really.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I lost all of my weight in my 20s.
You know what, that was
when I
me.
became beans and rice chalky.
You know what? That beans and rice chalky.
Oh, yeah.
That
all
was
I ate.
You know what? 38 was my peak. I remember. You know when you start losing weight, I kept me belt. It's just honest. I could probably go like.
No, I reckon my peak was
a third of that now.
I think it was
38 waist.
60th. I was probably
17.5 stone, 38 waist.
yeah.
Baggy clothes.
Yeah.
Long hair. It's just. But, yeah,
I like the long hair. Like I seen the photograph.
I took behind theirs. Yeah. I had long hair as a kid. I mean, it's the heavy metal boy in us as well.
Tim, you were going to ask us some questions. You
Well,
said you had up your
he's
sleeve.
been yapping on all the way through. He's trying to pitch his
You
out.
have
His
specific
drink.
questions.
He's trying to pitch his new drink. Oh,
Do you think we've
Wait
talked
till
about
the
local
picture
heroes?
Yeah.
And people might
My,
understand what we're about.
Own made cacao chocolates.
Yeah.
As well.
have we got? Do you think we've covered enough, Chris, to actually explain about what
think we
what
have.
local heroes
I
is
think we
about?
have. I
Right.
think we have.
That's all right because we
might change.
We did this because people were asking about who we are, what we do. We need to do a solo ep, and I think we're going to do more of this because we can talk forever
Well,
about
we
all
need
the
to talk
things.
about this, fella.
You know,
We need to talk
Gordon.
about that.
Yeah, we need to talk about
But
that
they're all
picture.
separate conversations, I think.
All separate conversations. This was a little bit of intro who we are for now, and then that's pretty much the start of
And
the
trying to
Local
get people
Heroes
to watch us on
journey.
YouTube.
Watch on YouTube, please. Yes, follow us at We Are Local Heroes.
We're on
And-
Spotify. We're on Apple.
Subscribe on the YouTube channel.
Subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah,
Really
subscribe,
important. That's
please.
it.
Yeah,
Don't just watch it.
Yeah,
Subscribe to it.
no. We've got Valhalla's on there. Coming Home films are on there. Some of the Coping in the Crisis. We haven't put them all on because there's a lot. But we've got loads of stuff on there. So go and have a watch, and podcasts every single week. The clips, which are great. We're having loads of fun with these things on social media, Instagram, TikTok. And yeah, so we'll make a few tweaks, so it'll be hopefully getting better gradually as we go along. But yeah, it's just fun to do something which we haven't set off with any agenda. We just started the thing and built this thing from scratch, from concrete 3 months ago, pretty much.
Absolutely. And we've got another guest about
And we've got another guest in an hour's time, so yeah, happy days.
Fantastic.
Been brilliant.
So, how did you get into tradecraft originally? Were you?
Is this
early
that
days?
podcast?
Oh,
thing,
it was
no?
a total-
Is it another?
I was going to say, is this that podcast? Because I think is this a long?
No, I
Is
think
this
it's
its
all
own?
right. I think
Is
it's all right.
its
We'll
own
do it.
story?
Yeah, I'll give
Okay,
you a brief one.
okay,
And
okay.
my
Right.
understanding is
'Cause I don't-
I'll give you a
Yeah.
potted history, right?
Because I don't want to
I
miss
think it's
the, I don't
probably
want to miss the
I think
detail in
it's
this one.
probably
You know?
important.
So yeah,
I think it's important.
yeah.
So, I'm going to give a potted history of my career because because it's important, I think, because
Oh,
it all
definitely.
links.
Yeah.
Right, so I only incidentally started working in food and drink, right? So originally I was a complete drifter, right? And this probably makes more sense to you than most people. I never knew when I was at college. I studied fine art. I've told you that before. I studied photography, but it never hit the mark for me, and I always had this agitation about like I was a total lefty. Social justice was always my thing. Banged on about it all of the time, and I kind of just couldn't find a route. Right, I didn't come from my family weren't a university family. You'll get that, right? We weren't. So all this business,
Yeah.
like
We
I
were-
would have been the first kid in the family to go to university.
We the first ones to go to college, and
Yeah,
we didn't get
totally.
to uni. We got to college, which is HND.
So I was classic kind of. I'm going to try that. Oh, I don't like it. I like it, but I don't like it enough to keep doing it. I'll try that. I don't like that enough.
Yeah.
And I always struggle to find balance between the
'Cause
two worlds,
there's no
right?
guidance around.
Because I wanted to do something creative that helped people
Yeah.
at the same time. And I would never have, even in me late teens, I would never have thought it would have been food related. And I remember getting a job whilst I was at college. I had 2 jobs. I've told you about one of them. I was a club singer. Different episode.
Chalky bongo.
But I was a club singer singing cover songs when I was 16 years old until I was about 21
Gotta say that video.
on weekends, right? But when I was at our college, I started being a kitchen porter. You know what a kitchen porter is?
I do.
Important job. Down out in Paris and
It
London,
is, yeah.
George Orwell, right? Washing pots. And I got a job with Terry Labourne's business, 21, when it was still in Durham. And I was only a teenager. So this guy would pick me up in heaven, drive us to Durham on a Friday and Saturday night. I'd wash pots from 7 o'clock till 1 o'clock in the morning. And then he'd bring us back home. I'd probably make about 20 quid a week, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't worth it, but, we had like a work ethic.
Yeah.
So it was like, whether or not you're making a lot of money, you're making money.
Yeah.
So I did it, and I was thinking, it was like you'd stand there in like checky trousers, chef stuff, and just think, I can't wait for this to be over. It's really, really hard. Hard work, heavy, hot, dirty, and like constant and quite aggressive. Like, it was a proper male environment then, you know what I mean? And I did that, and then I was always thinking to myself, I've got to plot a way out of not doing that for a living or having to work in restaurants. And so I'm trying to put a timeline to this. I dropped, whilst I was studying fine art at college, and art and design, there was an opportunity to go to Africa. We talked to Laura about this.
Did I?
And it was a big light bulb moment, because it wasn't VSO, because VSO you had to be qualified to do something. And I was thinking, well, I just want to do something, and I want to go there. I had a fascination with going to Africa, and I still do. And it's probably what made me travel to work. And I was about 3 weeks away from finishing my college course. Exams to come and all that sort of stuff. I'd applied for this thing. Didn't have mobile phones then. It was 1997. So I had to ring home. I remember coming out of a lesson at college, South Shields College, South Tyneside, ringing me grandma, landline. Has the letter come? Is there a letter come? She went, yes. Do you want us to open it? She opened it. She went, you've been accepted to go to Africa. And I was like, bloody hell. I walked back to the classroom, picked up my bag, and I walked out, and the lecturer said, where are you going? I'm not coming back. I'm going to Africa. Right. So I continued the KP work.
Kept walking.
And I was like in a David Byer. Right. So I walked out, and then ended up still doing the part-time job, KPing. Did loads of fundraising. Went to Africa. Completely changed my life. It was the first time I think somebody got sent a product, because we get mail once a week, right? We were in the middle of nowhere. I was in a town called Mpetu in Tanzania, and it was about a 6-mile drive outside of Dar es Salaam. And we'd get mail, and this guy got he got a product sent to him, and it was called a Geo bar, right? It was a cereal bar. It was a tradecraft product, and it had a fair trade mark on it. and it was all about ethical supply chain. And I hadn't even, that had not resonated with me at that point in my life. I was 19 years old, and just something clicked in my head because I was in Africa holding this product where the ingredients had been sourced from, like sugarcane and honey, and this term of kind of food politics, like food making change happen, sort of stuck in my head. So I came back from Africa, and I thought I still hadn't really, the penny hadn't dropped about working in the food industry. I actually wanted to work for like the UN, genuinely. So I went back to college. I did a foundation course in geography. Because I was older. I was 20, right? And
Heaven Job Centre.
Heaven Job Centre. It's Jarrow, actually.
Was it?
Right, so I went back to college, Newcastle College, did a foundation course because I was older, and all of a sudden I got a bit into something.
Yeah, that's it.
I smashed the college course,
Yeah.
right, and I went to Norwich to university.
Because you want to know the
I
purpose
just
now
knew.
of what
I
you
was
want
like,
to do. Yeah.
right, this is it. There was a course in Norwich, University of East Anglia, called, it was International Development, right? You could work for like charities, you work for like United Nations and Amnesty International, the World Bank, and economics and all this sort of stuff. I was like, that's what I want to do. That's it. So, did that course at uni, did the course at college, went to university, met a girl whilst I was enrolling at the university. The girl was from Newcastle but was studying in Glasgow. I went down to Norwich. I lasted, and I don't mind talking about this, it was probably my first proper bout of depression. So I went to university. I lasted 6 months, and I was I just can't do this. I can't. It was the working class thing again. I was living in a halls of residence, which was not too dissimilar to this behind here, right? The halls were breeze blocks. All of the affluent kids lived on the campus in the nice accommodation next to the library, and they all had the course books. And you know, my mum and dad gave us money to go to university, but I still couldn't afford to buy all the course books. And so I just had that, like the same old thing came up. I'm at university wanting to do what I wanted to do, but I still didn't feel enabled to do it.
Yeah.
And I just
There's still another barrier.
Yeah, I can't do this. So I came out of it. I moved to Glasgow, got a full-time job in a restaurant. It's like full circle, and I was like, oh, this is not what I want to be doing. And then I just started to, I think it was the detail, whether it was making cocktails or setting a table or understanding a recipe, or like how OCD you can be about front of house hospitality is incredible. You know, like, and it's angles and tables, and I think that's probably where I was like, you know, I quite like this. Actually, I can cope with it. So I lasted up there for 5 years. I came back to Newcastle with the plan always to go back to uni because they'd kept my course open. It was an agreement because I dropped out because of my mental health. I'd said to them, I can't do this, but they said, look, you know, keep in contact. We'll keep your course place open for you. Went back to Newcastle, got a part-time job working at Blackfriars, and the girl I'd been with for 5 years dumped me. The plan was to go down south with her. I was thinking, all right, okay, that's a little bit of a shit I like. So I stayed at Blackfriars. I went to an event at the Black Swan, you know, on Westgate Road. And I think it was like, that's a Chuck D thing. It was about jazz, John Coltrane, and politics, right? Went to this event, and I met a guy who was working at Blackfriars at the time called Andreas, who's now my partner's brother. I met him first. We started talking about this food politics thing. Like, what can we do? Like, what can we do where we stay in the same world, working in hospitality, but we actually help change people's lives with food? And we just went, let's just open a restaurant. And completely, like, turn it on its head. So it was ethical supply chain, finding suppliers that nobody knew about beneath the weeds and all of that, going out of our way to find people that just weren't in the public sphere at all, finding farmers that were completely removed from, you know, from the supply chain. People didn't know about them. So that was the ethos. So I quite literally went to Blackfriars. We quit. We went to a squash club that had been a failed restaurant 4 times over on the top floor of an old Art Deco building in Gosforth. And we opened the Open Kitchen, which was my restaurant. I'm coming to the tradecraft bit, Tim. So I was doing that, but I was still like, but it's the stories that I'm interested in. It's the supply chain. It's the
not running
people.
a restaurant.
I don't want to be like, I want to be in here, and I want it to be great, and I want it to do what we're trying to do. I want it to change things.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be standing here inside here. I want to be crawling in the weeds, and I want to meet the suppliers. And I want to get out there. And you know, I think I lasted 4 years doing that, and then an opportunity came. I was chair of the Newcastle Fair Trade Partnership, which I got pulled into. I was the chairman of this thing at the local authority about trying to get more businesses using fair trade products in the city. And this woman, Stella, she sort of completely changed my life because she saw this advert, a Tradecraft, saying they were looking for a sourcing manager. And she rang me and she says, I know it's going to sound weird. She says, but I keep reading this job description. And she says, I keep coming back. The only person I know who could do this job is you. She says, because you connect the dots all the time and you see how to bring these components together. Yeah. And the job was to find new ingredients, to then link those ingredients into new supply chains, into new products, develop new products, kernel, Corncake and all that. Yeah. And take those new products to market. So I had to look at the sort of whole, we talk about us being control freaks. Yeah. I had to look at the whole supply chain. So I had to find the ingredients, I had to find the manufacturer, and then I had to work with teams to find routes to market, right? Selling into channels.
Yeah. The important thing is there, though, it's understanding all of these people in all these areas.
Well, that was it.
It's like being a chameleon, isn't it?
I was 20, I'm thinking my son was only one. So it would have been 2008. And I literally just bet everything on it. I remember standing in the restaurant, miserable, thinking I can't keep doing this, but I don't know what route out there is for me. And I went, I'm just going to go for it. I'll go for this job. So I don't know, it was one of those things where I got shortlisted straight away. I walked in, it was like a defining moment. It was a really hard interview because Tradecraft were quite strict. They were, at the time, they were a big organisation. They were like a 20 million turnover, half charity, half PLC. They were governed by all these rules, and they were real kind of thought leaders, right? In what they did.
There was this fella.
And I just landed on that doorstep, right? Slim in a suit and that, right? I thought I was like sort of Chris Martin in the North East. Just walked in like, "Hey guys, I've got some ideas about how to change the world." Right?
No shows on.
I turned up, and I remember I had to do 3 interviews. I had to do like a psychological profiling,
really,
right, to see if you would fit into the organisational culture. I had to meet every team. I had to do a meeting with the head of sourcing, an interview. Then I had to do a full pitch presentation to the whole management team of Tradecraft.
So nothing like yesterday.
On a theme of my choice. And bear in mind at the time,
right.
I hated presenting. I hated standing up in public. I hated doing any stuff. So I went, I put a presentation together called How to Trade in a War Zone. Right? Honestly, this is it. And the whole presentation was about working in Afghanistan with rug makers. And trying to set up a project that would bring those rugs into places like Habitat, right? And it would become a fair trade project. And I don't know what it was. You just turn up sometimes. I just turned up, right? And it's funny, I'd been listening to, I'm not a huge Coldplay fan now, but I had been listening to a Coldplay album then, right?
Parachutes is the last one.
And there was a track on that album that we'd been listening to. And it's funny because Helen will always say, as she drove away from Tradecraft, that song came on the radio. Right? I was getting emotional about it because she always says she turned to Elliot, who was a baby, and went, your dad's getting this job. So I went in, did the interview, came home, and I had a shift that night in the restaurant, starting at 7. Oh. I was like, oh, God, that was awful. Right, about 4 o'clock, I got a phone call off the guy. He went, look, we loved your interview. He says, and we know if the same theme, we know you're a bit unpolished, but you knocked everybody else out of the park. He says, in terms of what we think you're capable of doing. And I'm talking like it was going from getting paid a couple of £100 as as a restaurant owner where you're just taking what you can to a full-on senior role. Like, it was totally life-changing. And he said, so I want to offer you the job. And I says, what was the defining moment? He says, do you remember when we interviewed you, we said, we're not too convinced that you could take an ingredient and turn it into a product? And I says, I don't remember that. And he says, do you not remember what the answer was? I says, no. He said, you turned around to us and you said, I make avocado ice cream every week from fair trade avocados. He says, what's the difference to making it at a bigger scale?
Yeah.
And he says, and that's what got you the job.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. Rest was history. Worked at Tradecraft 5 years.
Yeah, but it's the thing of how you approach something.
Yeah.
That's everything. How you approach something. And you've got to keep... It's not being too strict. It's not putting barriers in the way about what you think about. And this is the whole point with this.
The market. Everything's solvable.
Yeah.
It's always a solution.
Yeah, because we turned up yesterday and there was issues and just go, well, that would go there. What about this? Is that okay?
Well,
yeah, no bother.
My brain works.
Where we're going to do this? Well, we'll just do this. And it's being adaptable. And I love working in that way as well. It's like figure it out at the time because that's life. You're figuring it out in a live moment. And
it was so major. I mean, I was young-ish, and within months it was like, right, we're going to Mauritius in 3 weeks' time. We're spending 2 weeks there. There's a sugarcane organisation that we work with. We need to work out how to get them certified as fair trade producers. Then we need to find them a manufacturer, processor, to process the sugar from sugarcane into sugar.
Yeah.
Then we need to find a packer.
Yeah.
Then we need to find an exporter. I was just like, this is great.
Yeah. Perfect.
Made for me.
Exactly. Aye, but that's it. We have a problem.
Yeah, we have a problem. What's the solution?
I'll
go and find out.
Yeah, I'll come with a certain set of
and
skills.
I just ended up traveling for 5 years, India, Laos, Thailand, all over the place.
Yeah.
There you are. That answer your question.
Well, so
you can say no.
Back to your Africa moment, seeing the Geo Bar and seeing Tradecraft. When was the moment where you got back to the UK or Newcastle and went, oh, they're just there? Did you realise?
Tradecraft? No. Honestly, they were just like... I didn't, if I'm being honest. Do you know what it was, actually? It's funny you should mention that. It was because the public speaking thing was such a big... It still is, right?
Yeah,
I told you about this.
Well, it's not
I
easy.
find this uncomfortable, right?
No, but you're just having a conversation. It's easy, So.
But I always wanted to be good at public speaking.
Yeah.
Because I knew I had stories to tell and I knew I had things to say.
It's how do you do it
and
in your way.
Just didn't... And there was probably one time out of 50 I'd feel comfortable. And you're always searching back as to why you felt comfortable at that time, what made it different. So Tradecraft, I think it came up because I was doing some work for Tedco, who are like a business support agency in South Tyneside, and they wanted something around ethical trade, and they always asked if I would do like a talk to schools. It's funny because when we did the podcast with Heather, I was talking about Washington School. It was one of the first places I worked. So I'd get rolled out to go around talking about ethical business, and I hated it because I just wasn't confident. And Tradecraft came up through those conversations because they had a speaker scheme, so you could volunteer to be a speaker on behalf of Tradecraft to then be like an advocate of the business and talk about the importance of ethical trade to the developing world and to kind of mainstream consumerism in the UK and Europe. So you had to go out and do that. I thought, look, just put yourself under pressure. You're going to get better at it. Just keep doing it.
Yeah.
That was my in to Tradecraft before I really started to understand what they were as an organisation.
Polishing the rock there, Chris.
It was. It's like, I said, I didn't believe in fate, but I keep on saying I was like a big block of wood and just keep whittling away.
Whittling away, yeah. It's right place, right time, though, but it's seeing the opportunity and going with that. I think it's the same with this. When you rang me and go, it's like putting the band back together, isn't it? After 4 years, we want to do the podcast, and now there was an opportunity there. You've been released from your past work and things like that. I mean, I was spinning plates doing other things. I'm like, oh no, how can I fit this in? But it kind of bumped up to number one on the list because I'm like, yes, because I know this is going to work, and I know we both believe in this 100%.
But it feels urgent. It feels important. It feels like us.
Completely. It is us. And this is why we can sit here and have a natter with any single person that sits in this seat. doesn't matter where you're from, what background, and I think that's important.
Yeah.
We're bringing our experiences and what we've done in the past to this room, you know,
Yeah.
and this conversation, and that's the whole point.
The Local Heroes multiverse.
Exactly, and we'll continue doing our things on a scale which is under the brand of Local Heroes as well.
100%.
So yeah,
Happy days.
so yeah,
Feels like wrap up.
feels like
Yeah.
coming home.
Feels like we're
Go
coming home.
aye.
There you are. You said 30 minutes. What were they?
I did, but
40.
biggest time.